welcome everybody. I'll try this again as I just spoke a minute ago and didn't record. So one of those things of doing this YouTube video. So anyway, just wanted to say thanks to everybody that's put comments, asked questions, and found it useful. And hopefully people have found some ideas or things that I've said aren't true or are true, but hopefully helped even just to think about things. That was the aim of what I've done. Obviously I've put my costs into the solar and just give people some ideas of how it's gone. So it's now been a year, and for me it's worked out quite well. Obviously with the government also giving us the kind of rebate back, that's helped. But on the whole it's worked really well. Adding the car added another factor which I wasn't thinking about at the beginning, but has helped in terms of keeping the costs lower, because I can charge the battery. So that's been really helpful. Part of, as you've probably guessed, because of what I've done, part of your job, it's an additional day job that you end up doing. So I must admit I keep an eye on it and still trying to educate the family into keeping an eye on it. If you need to use stuff, you need to use things, but primarily now it's much better in terms of using dishwashers and tumble dryers and things like that overnight, so that's really good. The one thing which I'll probably cover a little bit later is the fact that the Givenergy maximum output is 3,600 kilowatt hours, so you can't run an oven and a tumble dryer at the same time. It starts hitting the grid, but for a short time, not a problem. That's what it's there for. It's not a case of completely going off, because in winter there are days when you just run out of battery, where it's so poor. As you can see in the background here, actually I'm just running the report. So this is a report of my complete usage over the last year, from what Givenergy give you. Let me move out of the way a little bit. But this is what they produce for you just with a click of a button, which is pretty helpful, so you can actually see where everything is being generated and used and all the rest. So that's pretty helpful. I think that's kind of it really on the covering. Okay. To change to so I'm on the Go Faster 5, which is a 5 hours. That's obviously gone away, so I need to think about what I'm going to do in August. So I've got a little bit of time in terms of tariffs and things. Hopefully the prices will have dropped. That make it a little bit easier. And I was looking around today, and EDF seemed to do a rate where you pay a higher daily charge, but a lower kilowatt rate, and then the 4p I think for overnight for 5 or 6 hours. So might be something to look at when I get to the end of my contract, but we'll wait and see. Right, yeah, so let me switch over to my version of it, my creation, and show you some of that. So for everybody that's seen this before, this is my application, my program that I now use to keep track of all my spend. I've now, obviously it shows me my gas, my electric, my car costs and everything, so I'm using it as a all-in-one. Top left, solar, 9 days in, so I did this last week. You can see that we've already gone past the total amount of solar generation for December, and obviously it will get better as we move towards the summer now. I've saved 52% of my energy bill because of the solar at the moment. So here you can see this is where I split that up. As I go through again summer, that should increase because obviously I won't use any gas and little electricity. Although the electricity will be for the car, so I'm always going to have some there. Talking about car, this is the charging. I've done very little with the solar charging. because it's tricky after you've charged the battery, the hot water and all the rest. There's not actually an awful lot left. I could probably do a little bit more, but I generally plug the car in now. I have to just drop the kids off at school. I generally bring the car home and plug it in, so anything that is spare will go into the car. But I think it would take a long time to charge the car just from the solar. But it would be good as a boost just to be sat there rather than, you know, not earning very much, sending it back into the grid. You can see here, this is my spend. You can see that 2021, I think this was the whole of 2021, you know, it's obviously increased to 22. This is the bit I've actually saved because this is the solar. It would have cost me if I hadn't have had it. So I'm really pleased with that. And into this year, you know, starting to make some of the savings as we go through into the summer. Obviously the amount of gas, you know, this month is a lot less. Currently it's about, as of today, it's about 20 quid, so I'm hopefully be about £40 this month. And then obviously going through the rest of the month, hopefully I'll just turn the gas off. I don't need it for hot water, I don't need it for anything, so I can just pay the standing charge of £10 a month. And then hopefully by winter, you know, the cost would have come down, so it'd be slightly better next year, or at the end of this year. You can see here my costs of gas. So this is what I was talking about a minute ago. As you go through the summer, you're just literally paying the standing charge on your gas, and then middle of November I've started to turn the gas on, and then as we go through December and January, that's increased, and now I'm tailing back off. So hopefully that'll be the cycle going forward. This is just a grid versus solar. Again, you can see here that there's lots of solar in the summer, but obviously it peters out for the winter. That will increase again. Going back to my original view, where I started putting loads of things on a page that was completely crazy. This is what it currently looks like. The one thing, so here on the left hand side it's looking at the solar, using the Solcast API, so I'm retrieving that data, processing and putting it in here. I can't remember when this last ran, but I think it would have been on the 9th. So obviously what we're expecting is a bit more solar for this week, if that's still correct, but it probably needs an update since then. This is what happens, this is what's been happening on a monthly basis. So this is all of my electric, gas and car costs. So again, you can see prior to sort of October last year, my diesel cost was £300 to £400, which is why I bought the electric car, to try and offset that. So my diesel and petrol costs have dropped quite a lot. As a result, I've also saved, because I've done nearly 12,000 miles in the Zoe, which is equivalent to about £2,000, that comes back to about £300 a month, just a bit short. So it's all kind of, it would have been spent on diesel, but I've spent it on the cost of the car, so that's worked out quite well. Kind of where I was expecting it to be. Electric, obviously this is showing the amount before the government subsidy, so it's £67 less for all of this, and this is what my saving would be. So I can turn that off. So this is actually what my spend was for the month, minus £67 for this period where we had that rebate. And what I can do is 600 and 700, I can subtract the amount of electricity for the Zappy as well. So I've added that functionality, so I can actually get a better cost of what it would have been if I hadn't charged the car overnight. Just talking about payback of the whole system. So way back at the beginning, people say, well, how long is it going to take to pay off? I think in reality at the moment it's looking like about just 7.5 years. The 7 here is related to the one without the charger. Yeah, so around the 7 odd years. Again, mine was all paid off because of the using my savings. Total cost. This is taking data from straight from the Octopus site. So here you can actually see that my cost, so I've subtracted all the 67s and any additional money that I might have got back. So I did get a little bit of money, I think it was £30 or something for my electricity export, all added in here. So in effect, as of now, it's about, I've spent £200 over the winter period. I think that's from August actually. It says since July. So £200, I don't think it's too bad. Well, no, it's very good. If I put back the solar, yeah, it saved me £1,500 or something overall. This is just consumption. I can turn on and off whether I have the zappy or not. So you can see that it's adjusting. So I'm getting a cost per day with and without the zappy. This was the only day I turned off absolutely everything. So in effect, I knew it was going to be a pretty good day of solar, so I turned off absolutely everything. No charging battery, no tumble dryers and things like that, to see if I could recharge the battery, and I got close. It was touch and go whether I was going to run out, but yeah, I thought I'll test that, and that's where I aim to be. Solar, again, you can see it increasing. So over the summer periods it's high, drops down, and now it's hopefully back on the increase. Yeah, so that's the main bit. Energy, again, this is just by day, so I can vary this and put in what I want, what I need to. These values are car, so where I've spent money on diesel, so I'll put that in as well, so I get a better idea, which is helpful for me. Economy 7, so this is just trying to work out what is happening. So obviously this was before my battery, this is my battery, and then over the winter period, you can see here, these are days where it's obviously I've been a pretty rubbish day, and I've ended up using the grid. So in that instance, it's cost me £6 or something for the day, because I just got no battery and things. Specifically just the zappy data, so again you can download that. This is where all this is coming from, and I can now get it to work out. They've just changed it, I can say in the last month, 6 weeks or something, so actually I can determine what is green energy, so what's coming from my solar and what is coming from the grid. So that's been really helpful. Obviously this was where I had no zappy, so it was just flat out all night at 2.5 kilowatts or whatever it is. And then just the one for temperature. So again, the inverter and the battery are all outside on a kitchen wall. It's quite well protected. I've put a piece of wood over the top to stop the rain and everything's falling in. But you can see even there, although we got really cold, it did get down to 5 degrees, but on the whole it's, there's some 7s and 9s. It's stayed relatively warm. It's not got to 0, which is good, and specifically for the battery anyway, and the inverter, I would say, it's not got below 16 degrees. So I think it's working out okay out there. I haven't seen any noticeable decrease in the battery, but then I guess it's only a year old, so things might change over time. But initially, it's working out quite well. So that's kind of an overview of where I am. But yeah, hopefully that gives you some numbers that you can look at and see where the spend is. Application or program, suddenly thought it's about time I did a death by PowerPoint. So just put a few things on a page really, so people can skip forward or ignore or read, whichever. So what I've done is I've just put a few key things down that I thought were important, especially to me, and the kind of things that people ask. So where did I start? Obviously my story started initially a year ago with the installation or the thought of solar. Very quickly I thought I needed a battery for winter, and then when I got through the winter and things, it was, well, how can I charge that cheaply, and also the cost of diesel, can I look at a car? So combine all the two. So very quickly I went from just solar to a solar, a battery and a car. Been extremely lucky with the installation and the costs of everything, even the car to a degree, because the rates were lower, the installation was very good. I was really pleased with the installation, and it's worked very well for a year. I've depleted all my savings in doing it, so for me there's no monthly outgoings because I've already spent that. And obviously people ask, you know, what's the payback, and that's about the 7 years, and the costs of things have risen, so I've been quite lucky in terms of catching that early. What would I do different? Probably not a lot, to be honest. Slightly bigger battery. At the point I bought mine there was an 8.2, I think there's a 9.5. That probably would have done me a lot better, but in hindsight, you know, well, actually it wasn't around at the time, so I couldn't do anything. Whether I would upgrade is, I don't know. It's looking at about £1,800 or something, or you know, around the £1,500 mark at the moment, and I can't justify that for the amount that I would save. And actually charging it's a bit of an issue, because on the Go Faster 5 I could probably do it, but if I go back to a 4 or something else, that's a bit of a challenge. And also the MyEnergi, which you covered here. So at the moment, unfortunately, the Zappi and the Renault don't seem to work with the Intelligent Octopus, which will give you 6 hours. I did read that it looks like that Octopus are reviewing that, so I'm hopeful that in May, in the next month or so, that hopefully that will go through, so that maybe I can switch to a tariff where I can get the 6 hours. Just need to look at the costs of the day rate, because that's always the thing that could catch you out. But again, shouldn't be an issue if I can charge the battery. That might sway me to getting a slightly bigger battery. And the other thing is, if I went for a heat source air pump, then that might be another reason to get a bigger battery, because it uses energy to convert, which is fine, but you may as well, if you've got a battery, you may as well try and use that rather than using the grid. Hopefully in the summer I can spend a bit more time doing the automations to reduce it, but on the basis that it's costing me 64p or so to charge my battery, it's kind of a small cost in the scheme of things. And even the car is costing me, about £4 or something maximum. Questions I get asked: is it worth it? Well, it depends on what you're trying to get out of it, really. I think solar on its own, need to look at it, because over the winter especially, it definitely helps through the day. So throughout the day I'm mainly working at home. That keeps my laptop and bits running, but probably doesn't add a lot more. If we get a nice day, then it's a little bit different, but on the whole, when you get to winter, you've got really dark times from 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon right through to 8 or 9 in the morning. So battery is one thing I would definitely say add if you were going to do it. In terms of the cost, it's an additional cost, but it's probably worth it more. That's my opinion. And I get asked a lot about, I'm thinking about buying an electric car. The thing I say back is just be careful. Again, if you pay your normal day rate, then it's very expensive throughout the day everywhere. Charging points are a bit tricky and costly. If you switch to the economy 7 tariffs, then generally you pay a little bit more in the day. So you just need to weigh it up and just make sure it's the best thing. You know, I love my car, I must admit. People, you know, it's a Renault Zoe, and it does exactly what I need, and I've done 12,000 miles in it. You know, we just use it all the time for everything, so it works for us. So just to cover the installations and takeaways, I'll put in installation, let you read through that. The only thing is that I have added a couple of cheap electric heaters, and I've actually got 2 dehumidifiers. A couple of the rooms started showing some damp because I was keeping the gas temperature down, and especially in the mornings, you know, where our dogs are downstairs and things, we've got some really big kind of glass windows, and they were just getting a lot of condensation and things, so just bought a couple of dehumidifiers in the morning to try and take the edge off of that. Obviously, light wave sockets keep the energy usage down to a minimum, and I actually bought a couple of the monitors, so Givenergy, and I bought a couple of ones that work with Tuya, I think it is, energy monitoring sockets, which are really quite handful. They go up to 16 amp, I think, which I plug the electric heaters in, so you can see how much you're using and you can turn them on and off automatically, so they're pretty good. Just some key takeaways I thought I'd put together. It's been good fun doing YouTube videos, so thanks everybody again. It's tough though, especially when you record 30 minutes and then you realise that the mic's not working. So it's been really good. I've enjoyed trying to connect to the Givenergy to get information, and as you can see, I spent a lot of time trying to work out what my gas is, my electric is, so that's been pretty good. I've actually enjoyed that. Soulcast is quite a good place to go to as well, in terms of giving you some of your predictions of the solar. Again, the API had a bit of a problem, but I've got that working again now, so that's really good. One thing I have found though is that it does annoy me with these apps. I don't know if it's just technology nowadays, but the Givenergy one with your local inverter doesn't always connect straight away and takes a little while, and even connecting to the Renault car, it's a bit, and the MyEnergi, the Zappy, it's a bit of a nightmare. The number of times I've had to do a reboot on it because the thing's got stuck. You know, today for example, I set it to finish charging by 4:30 because I've got to go out swimming in the morning, and it then just started trying to charge the car at 1.4 kilowatts for 10 minutes. So some of the apps annoy me. This one relates more basically to, if you're getting a battery, you just got to be a little bit careful about what you're going to do with it. Obviously charging from solar is fine, however a lot of the companies really don't like you charging a battery. You have to have a car, which is some of the other reason as I went for it, which is a bit, I think is a bit wrong really, especially when they're trying to get you to, you know, to do stuff, but if they're the rules, what can you do? So again, it's a bit frustrating when people are trying to keep costs down, but you can't get that tariff because you don't have a car. And that relates to that one, which is the cheap tariff. I think it would have cost me a lot more through winter if I wasn't able to charge my car. And primarily I'm aiming to use my gas from November to April. That's what it appears to be at the moment. So that's what I've done, and you can see some of the costings on the other stuff, so it's cost me quite a bit of money in terms of doing that. I do use electric heaters. On good days of the solar, I try and just turn on electric heater quickly just so I can reduce the amount of gas I'm using, just to keep the cost down a little bit. Luckily I'm at home a bit more, so I'm able to do it, but I must, going back to the monitors, the 16 amp sockets, it's nice that you can turn them on and off. Obviously you've got to be careful because they're electric heaters, but I'm in the house, so it's alright. My outgoings are broadly similar to last year, although I've halved the amount of consumption, especially on the gas side. So you can see that it's literally kind of half, but my cost is the same. So as they said, you know, price is going up. Luckily, I've kept it the same rather than increasing. The electric side, you saw that you know, with the government subsidy, that's reduced quite a bit for this time, but obviously we won't get that again. Washing machine, I couldn't see a significant cost, to be honest with you. However, the dishwasher and tumble dryer we use at night on the cheaper rate. Again, if we didn't have the cheap rate, we wouldn't be doing it, so again the cost would go up. We do run humidifiers, dehumidifiers, because we have to, which obviously they're not cheap either. I had one already, so that was alright, but another one cost me £100 and something. One thing I thought I could do, which doesn't seem to be happening again when we get to more into summer, is charge the car from the solar. So perhaps that's the question people ask is, oh, you'll be able to charge your car from solar? Yeah, not yet. So actually I think the amount of time I will be able to do it is quite limited, because it'll either be charging the battery, charging the heating the water, and then it might be doing, you know, other things that I need to do, but probably end up being dishwashers and things like that. So I don't know how much actual energy I would have to charge the car at the end of it, so I don't think it's the whole reason to get a car. Back to the 3.6 kilowatts, you can't use everything at once. There is a limit, especially with the Givenergy ones, so you can't just turn a tumble dryer and an oven on. Export tariff is poor. It's really annoying that you get very little back, and obviously I think I had a quick look at the Flux thing, which I'll show in a minute, but from what I can see, I don't think that will work for me, the agiles and all the rest, but you know, you've got to look at it and work out what might be best for you. I think just to go at maybe 4, hopefully 5 was ideal, but 5 hours, but just need to see what works. Try and do some of the calculations. My electric over winter is about £100. That's what I'm expecting to pay, £100 a month, which I think is what I was paying before. But with the solar, that will help. That was one about the temperature, about 7 years payback. iBoost, yeah, I don't worry about hot water anymore. I tend to use the iBoost. If I can get over about a kilowatt hour of solar, then I'll flick the boost on the iBoost and then use the battery and that as well, and that works quite well, to be honest with you. We've used that a few times. And then charging points, basically it's a pain in the ass, some of them work, some of them don't work, they're quite expensive. So again, I've done nearly all of my charging at home. You know, I've been away and quickly boosted as much as possible, and again those costs are not a problem. What is annoying though is that the government has now decided to put, you know, I don't have a problem paying car tax, we all use the roads, but you know, the higher tax on £40,000 cars, I still don't understand that, especially when they want people to get to cars. But again, I'm relatively lucky. I bought a Zoe that's nowhere near that cost, so I will pay the smaller amount of tax. I think they're my kind of key takeaways really. May or may not be useful to you, but that's my kind of thoughts. Just some numbers. Definitely December being the worst of the month. Back on my chart you can see that, and the first 9 days of thing. I'm getting about 50%, 52% of my energy from the solar, which overall that's in the last year, bear in mind, so that's quite good. And then I've just put some numbers here in terms of what I think that the percentages are. Might be worth me trying a year with the car and see what happens. 90% of electricity from Eco 7. Yeah, I need to say 1500. This is the one that if you're buying a car and just tootling around town, then it's a big cost for just doing that, but we're using it for a lot of things. So actually we are doing the equivalent miles. We stopped using the other car at the moment. We've got a diesel, so we use that on the longer runs if we're not so confident about the charging on the way. Currently I reckon my charging to the car is about 300 to 400 kilowatts, about £30 a month, so again that will increase a little bit, but it's quite a small amount. And then electric costs will be about 200. Okay, so that's the amount of cost. That's what I've spent. But obviously March is going to be 87. So they're really kind of the numbers. Again, they back up just the charts I've shown before. I had a quick look at the Octopus Flux, which is quite a new product coming out. From what I can read though, it's only 3 hours of cheap. It's 20p import, and I don't think that 3 hours will actually charge my battery fully. So for me, even in that, I don't think that would be brilliant, because I would immediately be paying anyway, and at 20p. So I think my cost would go up. And although the export is at 35p, which is really good, I don't think I'd have any battery to discharge unless it was the middle of summer, but between 4 and 7 I think it is. Actually I got it here. So I just don't think that I'd actually get much of that export unless I had a bigger battery. To get a bigger battery I've got to pay for it. So it's all costs. So it's worth looking at the numbers. I did find, I did have a quick look at, I think it's EDF, and they seem to do a rate which is £1 a day standard, I think, and it's about 20, therefore it's 20p a kilowatt hour for your normal rate, and then it's 4p for however many hours at night, I think. So it might be something to look at as I get nearer my time. And the other thing I did very quickly was, because I can just run my program with different numbers, this was the cost. So this is currently me at 8p, so I'm looking at 114 for December, which was the worst month, 105 the month before. That's my electricity. At 12p it's 142 and 151, and then if I was to use the Flux, I think if this is working correctly, then my cost would go up to £261 and 263, because in those periods I'm just not exporting anything, and I want to keep it all for myself. That was always the aim. I keep all the electricity and I try and use it. I don't have anything that I don't have a big enough battery to export at that time. And then you get into the agile as well, so some of the agile tariffs work quite well. But anyway, bit of an overview of some key points really, just some stuff to add really. So I think that's probably everything that I've got to say. Actually, there is one thing. I will just quickly show you this, which is one of the annoying things that happened. We went away in the week with the kids being on half term. We went down to I can't remember, down by the seaside near Lymington kind of way, and we had a charging point. Well, luckily we didn't need it, so from Swindon down and back it was fine. In fact, we got nearly 4.5 miles per kilowatt, which was pretty good. So got all the way down there and back, and I think I had about 30% left or something, which I was pleased about. However, when we were down there, while I was trying to pay, which doesn't work very well because there's no signal, turned around and noticed they got charging points, which was helpful. However, this car, which I thought was a diesel until I looked it up, is actually a hybrid, or if you want to call it a hybrid, priced at nearly 100 grand or whatever they are. Decided that even though this says charging only, it's not even plugged in. So these are some of the frustrations that I guess we have as especially with the EV charging, is A, there's a massive cost, and people with expensive cars decide they can park them in any space they feel like doing it, because it says electric on it. The good news is that I wrote to Hampshire and gave them this, and they're currently looking into it, because they need to work out that people are using them. It's a double-edged sword really. You really need to keep it in and charging, but it's whether or not you've finished your charge and it's just sat there waiting for you to get back, or those kind of things. So it's going to get more and more tricky. But there were a lot of electric cars down there. I was quite surprised when we went for a walk and came back, and there were 2 in the spaces using them. So there are a lot more electric cars around, and people like this are quite annoying, and you hear about it all the time, but that's an EV thing. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching this. Hopefully you got something out of it. As I say, you probably won't have you won't have to listen to my droning voice for a little while, because I think there's only so much you can do with solar, but hopefully it's given people ideas. If you've got any questions, or there's something I've missed or something you don't agree with, then let me know. By all means, again, this is my view, it's my money, it's my time, so just let me know what you think. Thanks very much. Bye.